Hey scientists, this week we're talking about life cycles. Every living thing is born, grows up, usually has offspring, that means children, becomes old, and then dies eventually. Now, humans are different than animals in that, like, sometimes we choose to not have children, but most of the natural world is born, has children, and then dies. But because they have children, life continues to go on. That child or that, baby animal, insect, whatever it is born, grows up, also has children, and then dies. And the cycle goes on and on. Today, specifically, we are talking about the life cycle of butterflies. I'm going to read you an excerpt, that means a piece, of this book called Butterflies, and then you and I are going to make something to help us remember the stages of the butterfly's life cycle. We're going to make a foldable that looks like this. To make this with me, what you will need is a blank piece of paper. Scissors are optional. You can do this with ripping as well, so if you don't have scissors, don't freak out. And then you're going to need some markers as well as a pencil or something to write with. If you don't have markers, don't sweat it. You can do it all in black and white. Before we make, I'm going to read to you this section, which is called From Egg to Butterfly. There are 4 stages in a butterfly's life. The first stage is called the egg. A mother butterfly places her eggs on a milkweed leaf. A tiny butterfly egg is the size of a pinhead. This stage lasts 4 days. Now I have a pin here that I use when I'm quilting, and the head of the pin would be the very tip. So if you see how tiny that would be, an egg could fit on the very top of this pin. So this is an enlarged picture. Really, the egg would be much, much smaller. This says hardworking mamas. A female carries up to 400 eggs. She flies from leaf to leaf. On each leaf, she places only 1 or 2 eggs. That's a lot of work. Stage 2 of a butterfly's life is a caterpillar. A tiny caterpillar hatches from the egg. It eats milkweed all day long. In 2 weeks, it grows from less than a quarter of an inch, that's very, very small, to 2 inches long, that's much bigger. So it starts as this size, and then eventually gets to this size. Stage 3, Chrysalis. This is also called a pupa. A caterpillar sheds its skin, and a hard protective coating is formed. This is called a chrysalis. So the chrysalis is this outside thing that the baby butterfly caterpillar formed. When it's inside there, though, it's called a pupa. From outside, it appears that nothing is happening, but inside, the caterpillar is transforming into a butterfly. This stage lasts about 10 days. We have a lot to look at on this page. Stage 4 of the butterfly's life is when it becomes a butterfly. When the chrysalis opens, a butterfly is born. So we're going to start over here. It says after 10 to 12 days, the chrysalis becomes clear and cracks open. So you can see the butterfly in there. The butterfly comes out head first. Its wings are small and crumpled, which makes sense to me because how could it fit in this tiny little pod if its wings were full size? The monarch pumps liquid through the veins in its wings to enlarge them. The butterfly's veins stiffen. About 1 hour after it comes out of the chrysalis, the monarch is ready to fly. So it takes him about an hour to get from being these small crumpled wings to these big, beautiful wings that are ready to fly. So the 4 stages of a butterfly's life cycle are when they are an egg, when they are a caterpillar. This stage is also called larva because when it's in this stage, it's a larva. developing. It's not fully changed yet. When it forms a chrysalis, the caterpillar or butterfly inside is called a pupa. And then the very end result is an adult butterfly. So we are going to make a foldable to help us remember the stages of a butterfly's life cycle. You're going to need to get your piece of paper, and we're not doing it this way, but the wide way. And I want you to fold in both sides so that they're about in the middle, and it makes two doors, two long doors. And if at any point I am moving too quickly for you, just pause the video and then press play when you're ready to move on. After you have two doors here, two flaps, you're going to take the whole thing and you're going to fold it in half. Like so. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. I need to make 2 cuts, one on this side and one on this side, so that I have 4 windows, flaps that I can open. I'm using scissors to cut on that line that I made. I'm not cutting through the whole thing, just the flap. If you do not have scissors, you could always very carefully make a rip here and just carry it down into the edge. If you do have scissors, that's great. Now I made my 2 cuts. I am ready to go. I am going to start with the first stage of a butterfly's life cycle, which was what? Which was when it's an egg. I'm going to make kind of a heart shape here for a leaf, and then I'm going to make a big line for the stem, and then I'm going to make some diagonal lines here just to show that it's a leaf. After I've done that, I'm going to take my pen or pencil and I'm just going to do a couple of eggs, because we learned that the butterfly only lays 1 or 2 eggs on a leaf. Inside, and remember, pause if I'm moving too fast, I'm going to write that the first stage is egg. Now, you can skip this part if you feel like you can't fit your writing in here, but I'm going to write that first a butterfly lays eggs on the underside of a leaf. Now, I think that makes sense to me, because if they laid eggs on top of a leaf, it might be very easy for the eggs to be disturbed or found. On the underside, seems like it would be protected. I'm done with the first stage of a butterfly's life. I'm moving on to the next stage. So on the window across from the leaf, I'm going to do the second stage of a butterfly's life cycle, which is when they are a caterpillar. I'm doing a big kind of S shape swirly line, and then I'm rounding it off and connecting it. I'm going to give this one some stripes. You can design your caterpillar however you see fit. Now this stage we said is called larva or larvae, depending on how you pronounce it. I'm not sure the difference, to be honest. I'm going to give him some eyes and a smiley because he's my caterpillar and I can make him however I want him to be. I could also give him tons of tiny legs because, even though they don't look like it, caterpillars have quite a few little legs underneath their body. Inside, I'm going to write the word larva because that's what it's called at this point. And I'm going to say then, transition word, this word is long, caterpillar. Then the caterpillar hatches from an egg. So it's kind of going in order. First, a butterfly lays eggs on the underside of a leaf. Then the caterpillar hatches from an egg. So there he is. I'm ready to move on to my next stage, which is the pupa, we would call it. But when it's a pupa, it's inside a chrysalis, so you can't really see it. So I'm going to take brown and just make a swish like this for a stick, or a twig, or a branch. And then I'm going to make kind of a oblong shape and fill it in green because it looked green to me in the picture. This is my chrysalis. And then, you know what? To set it apart from leaves, I'm going to give my branch some leaves, just so that we can tell it's definitely not a leaf. There we go. And inside, I'm going to use brown to write pupa. And then I'm going to say next. The caterpillar forms a chrysalis. The chrysalis is this outer, kind of like a shell that they make for themselves. Another word that people call it is cocoon. You may have heard that word before. And then finally, it is a butterfly. So to make a butterfly, I'm going to make what kind of looks like a 3. And then butterflies are symmetrical, so I'm going to use what I know about symmetry and try to make it match the other side. If you have your own way of making a butterfly, that works too. I'm making one line in the middle, and then I'm going to give it antenna, and actually I'm going to give my butterfly hearts on its wings. Again, design your own butterfly. Does not have to be like mine. I'm going to give it some squiggles. Okay. Inside, I'm going to write butterfly, butter, fly. And then with my pencil or pen, I'm going to say finally an adult, that means grown up, butterfly emerges, that means breaks through. Ta-da! We have a finished foldable to help us remember the 4 stages of a butterfly's life cycle. Now there are some things that we could do. For example, how long is a butterfly in the egg? Let's see. It says that this stage lasts 4 days. So what I could do over here in marker or in pen, you know, I'm going to use pen so it doesn't bleed through. I'm going to, on my inside of the flap, say 4 days. If you want to add, this lasts for 4 days, or whatever you want on the side, that could work. How long is it a caterpillar? I'm pretty sure it said 2 weeks, right? I think about 2 weeks. So here I'm going to add 2 weeks. And these are some details. If you do not feel like adding this, by no means necessary. How long is it a chrysalis? A chrysalis lasts for about 10 days. So we're under pupa, chrysalis, 10 days. They're in the chrysalis. And then the butterfly. And then I don't know how long a butterfly lives, so I guess we won't add anything for that one. Another thing you can do is, so that you know what this is all about, write life cycle of a butterfly. And then you could add decorations however you want it to be. Thank you so much for making a foldable with me. You can take this around, you can show it to your family, you can open the flaps and read these facts to them. If you want to do more research, feel free to go on Pebble Go and learn more about butterflies. And I will talk to you soon.